Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are so excited to have Limon Health here joining us and the founder and owner, Tracy Limon herself, joining us here to talk more about the work she does, focusing on helping us women out there finding their voice by going through boundaries, expectations, and communication. And she's here to help empower us all, right? Women, listen up. Whether you need help in your relationship or as a single, you focus with intimacy, also communication. There's so much that you do to help others. And I want to first and foremost say, welcome to the show, Tracy. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, pleasure to have you here. Tell us just a little bit about what you do at Limon Health, but we're going to dive into your background in just a sec, too.
Okay. So it is set up right now for coaching, and it's going to be therapy is going to be added onto it, so I can expand a little bit more once we have the coaching side filled.
So you're strictly working with women, right? And empowering them.
Right.
And let me ask, first and foremost, how can we find you on social media? Do you have an email address?
Yes. So my email address is limonhealthllc at gmail.com. And then I wanted to say my Facebook page. I can't think of it right offhand.
That's okay. We will find it. Don't worry. Is there a phone number we can contact you?
Yeah, I listed that with the paperwork. Do you want me to just
Sure.
say
The
it?
515. I want to
Yep,
make sure it's the right one. Four two
yep,
three 9648.
yes,
And it's Tracy, spelled Tracy.
mhm,
Limon is spelled Limon, correct? But
right.
the hyphen, what do I call that? It's not a hyphen. It's a
Accent.
Thank you. Perfect. Limon, help with the accent. Okay, gotta before we talk about the work you're doing, I gotta find out more about you, and I think that's important to our listeners. I know you were always a humanitarian and loved helping others. Could you share a little about first and foremost where you grew up and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I was born and raised for the first half of my life in Southern California. And
Okay.
then the second half, I moved to the Midwest and have been out here pretty much ever since. Um, and I've always been that person that like volunteers to help clean up the neighborhood. I adopt a wall when I was in seventh grade, so we can paint over the graffiti and stuff like that. So I was always doing something to help others. And then I got into like the medical field as a CNA and then a CMA. Um, and the medical field wasn't for me, but the caring was. And so I fell upon therapy.
And can I ask who inspired you, and what inspired you in your life? Because I know we all had some hurdles in our lives, and you yourself as well, very open about that. So I think you really can
Mhm.
empathize with people.
Right. So I honestly didn't have anybody to look up to. I come from a very poor family. And so it was just trying to like do what you can to get by. So we were always focused on something of that nature. So when I was in the medical field as a CMA, I had a doctor that I was a nurse for, and she was always telling me, go give the patient, their information and their new diagnoses. And I'm like, that's not my job. I'm not the doctor.
Yep.
And so every time I went and counseled them about their new diagnoses, I just fell in love with that more and more.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so sweet because here you are helping so many move forward, right?
Right.
And you mentioned you really didn't have a mentor in a sense, right? But
Hmm.
you started helping women in this field. So
Right.
tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to help those out there.
So this is okay. So we live in a patriarchal society where a lot is ran by men. We, as women, obviously think very different than men. And so making sure that they have a voice to where they can say, hey, I don't like this. Hey, I need you to listen to me, usually ends up in the bedroom. And that's usually between pillow talk or intimacy time, things like that. And I have met a lot of women that say that they're embarrassed or scared or worried to tell their partner, hey, I don't like that, and how to create a boundary. So when we say no, we mean no. And no doesn't mean try harder. And that's been something that I've noticed too, causing rape culture to grow. And so making sure that helping women and empowering them to say no, stand their ground, but also to not feel bad for telling someone no, because that's your body. That's your, all you.
No, absolutely. And I know a lot of people could be taken advantage of, and I love that you're helping people. Now, you're an independent therapist and coach, correct?
Right.
So can I just ask a little bit about what's the difference? Because some people might not understand that. Well, why do I need a therapist compared to a coach? Would you
Mhm.
mind just sharing that? Thank you.
Oh yeah. So not everybody is ready for therapy. And therapy is a hard look into what's going on. So there's times of challenging moments. There's times of reflection and possible re-traumatization. So as a therapist, we know how to help guide you through those nasty memories
Mm-hmm.
and start healing from them. As a coach, you don't do that because that is something separate. So if
Yep.
you are looking to learn a new
Mm-hmm.
skill, if you're wanting to learn like how to empower yourself, anything like that, that is what's different between therapy and coaching. Is one, you're learning from the coaching side, and therapy, you're processing.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that. And let's talk specifically now about, what you're doing in your session. So, who out there could benefit from your work? And you call it matriarchal empowerment approach, right? Could you share a
Yes.
little bit about that?
So I want women to start feeling like they have power behind their voice, behind their words. They have the power, to say, this is what I expect. This is what I want. And these are the boundaries I hold and I keep. And not feel bad to say, you've crossed that boundary. So it's time to cut ties. And so I call it matriarchal because one, it's only women that I work with, and I work with women 21 and up. And I want them to understand that the matriarch isn't isn't the one running the household or anything, but instead is running the operations of herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh,
so I know there's a lot of hierarchies, and I use the same words in
yeah.
therapy, hierarchies within the family, and it usually is the man, the wife, and the children. So sometimes it's hard to identify, as a woman, where is my voice? Does my voice come after my husband? Does my voice come before him? Like,
Yeah.
where's my voice? And it's usually to help that understanding. Where do you want your relationship to be?
Yeah.
You know, like, are you stagnant in your relationship? And there's a lot of it.
Now, and also different religions, different cultures you work with as well, because I know that varies for a variety of us.
Yes, different cultures. If I don't know about it, then I will definitely ask tons of questions so I can learn about it, also do my own research. And age groups are very important. And then we have life cycles. So what has happened in a person's life and what is currently happening in your life, to bring you to me. So, oh, and I also work with the LGBTQ.
Beautiful. So all inclusive. I love hearing that.
Yes.
Now, let's, if you don't mind, kind of go over how the process works to work with someone. You're here with us virtually today, and
Hmm.
you're based out of Des Moines, Idaho, right?
Iowa, yeah.
Iowa, sorry. I said
That's okay.
Idaho. In Iowa, are you licensed? Are you able to work with people outside of your state? Just want to make sure because I know it.
Oh, yeah. So coaching is not something that you have to have a license for, as there's no certification or anything like that. But so I make sure that I watch and manage the words that I say and the program and stuff that I have. I am going to be hiring a couple people on as therapists. So then if it falls in the realm of therapy, then we can go straight there. But if it doesn't, and it's just solely focused on coaching, and then that's me.
Well, could you share some examples of some of the people you're working with and how you've helped them?
So I have worked with a lot of younger women, and they come from not so great backgrounds. And so helping them build their voice and what that all entails, and have them understand the difference between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And when you're so young, it's hard to tell what's okay and what's not okay unless it's something like violent. But these ladies have done wonderfully. They have healthy relationships. I can't give away too much of it because it was under the guise of a medical facility. But I can give away that they're doing wonderfully. I see them on Facebook all the time, posting healthy pictures, talking about healthy things. And so I know that there is a need there for women to, have that extra strength.
Well, it's also important to know that, people need to feel heard, need to feel valued, need to feel, and sometimes they're not getting that right at home. So
Right.
work through that process if you can with someone who's trying to, express their thoughts but are having trouble communicating with their spouse in a sense, or, or it's female, male, whoever it is. But do you also work with uh, the the counterpart of that, their spouse or their
Yep.
their partner too? Is it like together, separate, or how does that part work?
It's first separate, so I can get each side to find out where they think they're at in a relationship, and then towards more of the couple building, then it's together. The reason why I do it like that is because we all see the world very differently. I could say, like, my relationship is wonderful. We have open communication, we joke, everything is, copacetic. I can ask my husband, and I'm on cloud nine. I have no complaints, and that's it. And I'm like, can you expand a little bit? And he goes, no, I can't. And so it's kind of hard to know how your relationship is. So if you're with a trusted person one on one, it makes it easier than trying to talk to the spouse, because what happens is you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to accidentally step on their toes or hurt their feelings. And as creatures of empathy and understanding, men and women, we don't want to hurt each other on purpose. However, there are growing pains that have to occur to have that healthy relationship. So when I work with the woman and I ask her, what is good about your relationship, what is not so good about your relationship, and what do you want to change in your relationship. Same with the husband. And then when I ask them, now how do we bring this together, because sometimes you can just be too close to the problem.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And we need to remind everyone how we can contact you. If you could share the phone number, email address, any social media pages at this time.
Oh yeah, so it is Limon, Limon Health LLC at gmail.com. Let me see pull up my face. I should have my Facebook open. Um, and you can find me on Tracy Limon as well. I try to make it like super easy. And then the phone number is just the 515-423-9648.
Beautiful. All right. So, what else did you want to make sure we discuss? I know today's our first show, so we have a
Yes.
lot to get to. And you also, by the way, work alone, right? You're not here trying to, dismantle patriarchy. And could you share a little bit about your opinion on that?
Right. So, because the society that we live in does not fully support women in their life endeavors, and that means becoming a mom, or just a working woman, it's looked down on. No matter pretty much what we do, it's wrong. And so we live in a bad relationship, is what I like to say. And so what I do with women is give them that power of their own self, of their own governance. So if they say, you know, this is what I want to try in our relationship, this is what I want to do, along with keeping those boundaries and maintaining consent, is something that is extremely, extremely important because we need to know that we have the power of ourself and not somebody else have the power over us. And because we live in a patriarchy, there's a lot of internal misogyny. I help process that out. And then the self acceptance and the matriarch understanding. Help them bring that back in, bring that into their life and their way of thinking.
Let me ask, right now you're taking clients for coaching only right now, you said, right? You're going to
Right,
keep us updated when you're doing the therapy portion of it.
right.
But you're doing your sessions like this. How many sessions does someone usually need? Is there a package? Do we commit to a month, 6 months, 3 months? How do you know what someone needs?
Sure. So, what I've done, I have made an overall course, and it's a go at your own pace because there are very difficult questions in there. There are very difficult things in there to where you might want to be supported by your husband or a friend or a family member on, how to start using your voice for something other than somebody else's pleasure or somebody else's gain. And so it's definitely go at your own pace. And it is once a month. I have it down for a whole year, but it's once a month we will do a group session. And then once a month we'll do a one-on-one. However, if something happens and you need to have it more, then we set up more. But it is very interactive, with me, with programs, studies and research that I found. And so I make it to where it's understandable, but fun at the same time because like there's an area where we talk about sexy dice. And so not a lot of people have those and a lot of people get very leery of those, but my kids found mine at one time and said, those are for the forbidden dice. And I always recommend couples having them because they're fun.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And, in this field of, so many people out there. Let me ask you about what happened since the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
Is that inspired, changed you? Have you seen an uprise in couples, different, people's behaviors and anxiety and stress? How has that impacted things?
Oh, definitely. So couples, a lot of them have been having very hard, rough patches. Some I've seen the increase of domestic violence go up, and others it's like trying to fall back into their normal pattern, and it's hard when you're disrupted that much. So I always take that into consideration to why things are not working, and what happened to the woman's voice in the relationship because sometimes it can be overpowered by their partner.
And I agree. I just feel like a lot, though, since the pandemic, you notice a lot of couples dynamic has changed. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of people giving up quicker,
Yep.
and I feel like, I mean, so from society, from when, my parents were around when like it was like, touche, you can't get a divorce type. And to
Mhm.
now people are, at least trying to work on it. But I feel like a lot of people are giving up quicker. What do you say to someone out there who is, wants to give up?
Right. So it goes back to where is their relationship now? Um, is it something, because a lot of women are actually realizing their worth and their value is much more than being a wife and a mother. Some women just want to be working women, totally fine. Other women realize that, maybe being a mom isn't for me right now or isn't for me at all. And these are things that will break up a relationship if they are not met um, on the same level. So, I've noticed that too, that relationships are failing at a higher and faster rate. I do think it's a combination of, women kind of like waking up and saying, this is what I want to be and I want to do in life. Because pretty much that's what happened to me. I was a traditional military housewife, didn't go well, only had a high school education. And I said, forget that mess. And took the kids and I was a single mom and went to school. And so that's another dynamic that plays into it. So if they really want it to end, then I really expect them to go through couples counseling, because that is something that is very hard to process. It's like
Mm-hmm.
processing a death.
Ah, got it. Well, again, we're here with Limon Health, and she's here focusing on helping women find their voice in whichever way possible that may be. And some of the issues that that you touch upon, could you share some of your other client stories, some of the things you really can help with specifically?
Yeah. So, ladies, it is difficult to tell your partner no. I know because sometimes I feel that way when it comes to my husband. The most important thing that you can do is when you say no, you can tell them this is because I'm not ready or I don't want to. This is not a reflection of you. And hopefully that will help soften the blow, because men do take it personally that when you're telling them no, like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? These are things that are the foundation of my courses, because in order to build or restructure a lifestyle, an understanding is having the best foundation humanly possible. And if that means learning how to speak up for yourself, learning how to call things out that are not helping or working or actually borderline abusive, and knowing where to go to get those helps are very, very important. I do have list of information. So when it comes to coaching, you do get information of where can I go for help and who can I call? And I had a couple that came in and did sex therapy with me when I was doing my first part of my internship, and that was fun and different. And I found out that they didn't stay together because she started using her voice. And when I saw that, I was devastated in the sense that her saying no made you that upset and you walked away from her. This is not, our relationships between our partners is not a quid pro quo. It's not a, tit for tat. We don't keep track of, the stuff that happens. What we do keep track of is how we feel within the relationship.
Well, thank you for that. Now, also, we are just about out of time. Would you mind sharing how we can contact you?
Yeah. So you can email me at Limon, Limon, health, LLC at gmail.com. Also, you can look up Tracy Limon. And I have a group available. I have two groups actually, one that's open to the public and then one that's private. The private one is for those that have joined the course. And then if you want any course information, of course, I can send it to you. Oh, and you can also message me um, at 515-423-9648.
Thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Thank you so much for all you do, and great getting to know you today, and hopefully we will connect again.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. This is super fun. So I'm excited for next time.
Me too. You have a fantastic day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.